Hello, my fools. We are going to be reacting to the red panda problem not being talked about enough from Casual Geographic. I'm excited to get into this one because red pandas are one of my favorite animals, if not my favorite animal. I go back and forth between red pandas and bears. They're so cute. So I'm interested to see what their what their problem is. So yeah, let's get into it. No! They better catch him. No!
Red pandas are the paralysis demon
Look
of
at
depression.
'em!
The first thing it sees after hearing boss music. The red panda is the cutest thing alive that will
they're
take the
so
lives of other
cute.
animals. We'll get into that. Red pandas are so cute that off instinct I almost don't trust them. They're built like a deliberate distraction from what?
I trust them so much.
Give him a briefcase and he looks like he's gonna sell me awful
Little
financing
businessman.
insurance. And for the last time, I am absolutely on board. The red panda is so adorable.
I would also buy anything that a red panda tried to sell me. They don't even, like, nope, just hand it over. Yep, I'll buy everything. Anything that they give. They're so cute. They can do no wrong in my mind.
It's almost too good to be true. And like healthcare and insurance payouts, they actually are. This animal is not what you think it is. The internet will have you believing it's a wholesome, ginger, chunkus, ooh, raccoon, and panda adjacent, but I know the truth, and I will be exposing them. But first, this video was sponsored by absolutely no one. Except my personal biases, let's get it. First
They
of
can
all,
be
the red panda
both.
is the biggest victim of clout jacking in nature. This is actually the original panda. Let me explain. The red panda was first described in 1825 by zoologist Frédéric Cuvier, who called it the cutest, most beautiful animal he'd ever seen, and even gave it the scientific name Alurus fulgens, which literally means fire cat, and they earned the panda name from the Nepali word bonya.
That's so true. That's so cute.
Well, the obese, bamboo-eating bean chair of a bear was first described in 1869 by Pierre Armand David. They inherited the panda name because folks saw me bamboo and were like, damn, him too, and assumed the two bonyas were related. So yeah, this panda was actually named.
Okay, I can kind of see where they think that they're related, and like I don't know, they're both adorable, and I feel like I'd be writing the exact same thing if I discovered them. They're so cute. I'm gonna be saying cute a lot because look at him, like look.
After that panda, almost 50 years after the fact. And somehow, even with half a century handicap, the second panda managed to lap the premier panda in popularity. So much that the OP, original panda, is now called the lesser panda.
That honestly bothers me so much.
Which is why the giant panda...
Sorry, I'm pausing, but it bothers me so much that they're considered a quote-unquote lesser panda. And I think they're gonna go on to say, like, it's about size and all, but, like, I hate that it's referred to as lesser panda. Like, I don't know, they're adorable, and every time I get into an argument being like, don't call them that. Don't. They're not lesser. Yeah, I don't know, I can kind of see why the pandas kind of overtook because a lot of people really like the bigger animals, and they're also very cute and chill. I love red pandas way too much.
She gets body shamed in its own name, but I already don't appreciate gibbons being clocked as lesser apes, much less a commie raccoon being a lesser anything. But it's actually worse for the red panda, cause these two pandas aren't related. Giant pandas are bears, and people should look up panda attacks to remember that. Red pandas are, well, we'll get to that, but they're not bears. They're not even remotely related.
They're silly little guys.
DreamWorks jockey borrowed the name from an animal it's not even related to 50 years after, stole its identity, and left it with lesser. So now, not only does Google acknowledge the biracial bear first when you look up panda, even people that try standing up for the original accidentally overcorrect by saying, you know, red pandas aren't actually pandas. Except they are. They are the bonyas. They came first. I can't think of another animal that's had that happen to it. Except maybe penguins. Penguins got their name from looking like a bird they're not even related to, but at least the great auk is extinct. Red pandas are still here, albeit they're
I need to check out penguins.
Which is actually another issue I have, because giant pandas would end up becoming the poster child of endangered species, and would even be immortalized as a World Wildlife Fund logo. And you can't even point to pretty privilege. Red pandas are obscenely pretty.
They're so pretty.
When you save nonprofit money on printing fees by being black and white, you get the nod as the logo, and that's not even a joke. The price of color printing got the red panda passed over. They probably wouldn't have gotten the credit anyway, because if you know this logo, you know the company Firefox, and the Firefox mascot was based on a red
A red
panda. As
panda.
adorable as they are, red pandas have been
They're
shoved to the
so
shadows.
cute.
But what if I told you this all could have, and honestly should have, been avoided? Because remember, I said the reds were first described in 1825 by Cuvier. Except, not really. It was actually General Thomas Hardwick who's credited with introducing the fire panda to the Western world, and he even did a presentation at the Linnean Society in London with what's considered the first ever red panda painting in Europe.
I will say, anytime that I see like older depictions of animals or like paintings, drawings, anything, it's so interesting to see how they're drawn and how their proportions are. This one isn't as bad because it looks pretty similar, but seeing like old-timey like pictures of lions or like elephants from those that have never actually seen one and are just trying to draw based off of description, it's so fascinating to see what people come up with.
Europe in 1821. Like Cuvier, Hardwick also wrote about them, except in his report, he didn't call it a panda, he called it a wah, based off their call. But despite writing the report in 1821, Hardwick's work wasn't published until 1827. With Cuvier's work out 2 years earlier, he got the naming rights, and red panda stuck. If Thomas could have just locked in a little earlier, we'd be calling this a wah or a chihuahua, and who knows what butterfly effect follows.
I'm glad we're calling it red panda. Red panda is so cute.
But being compared to a bear, retconned as a raccoon, firefox, and firecat begs the question, if it's none of these, what even is a red panda? Alright, let's do this one last time. With mammals, there's two classes of carnivores, feliform and caniform, team cat and team dog. I'm sure you've heard this all before. And caniformia is made up of dogs, of all kinds, including steroid solo dogs, sea dogs, stink dogs, shiesty dogs, and dogs with a Napoleon complex. It was the bear family of Ursidae and the raccoon family of Procyon that split custody, as early scientists classified the red panda as part of one or the other. But DNA research determined that the wah was more like a what and was placed in its own family of Alluridae, of which it's the only surviving member. However, further DNA studies as early as 20 years ago put the red panda under the Mustelidoidea superfamily umbrella. And if that's confusing, mustelids are the family of miniature caniform crashouts and weasel rage we all know and love. Like that Stoffel. Mustelidoidea is the superfamily that holds the mustelids, skunks, raccoons, raccoon equivalents, and now the red panda. So while their closest cousins are these guys, the red panda is more like a living fossil that diverged from the other caniforms pretty early on. So it's more like they're their own thing. And while the ones we know are the last,
it also seems like they were put into a category that's like little fellas that have a little bit of whimsy, but are also kind of menaces to society at times. Especially like put it in there with like skunks and raccoons are just like, yep, you get your own little category of silly little guy that is also a menace.
last man standing, the red panda party used to be packed. For example, Samosayon Batalari was an allured about the size of a cougar that would have had jaws on the level of a hyena.
What?
That would have been an American problem. But today, we're left with a much cuter version, which actually has two species, the Chinese and the Himalayan red panda, and if you can't tell them apart, neither could science. Until like 2020, because that's when it was widely accepted that these are two separate species. But honestly, I probably shouldn't be so hard on scientists for confusing them with bears. It's not like the reds made it easy. Obviously, both bonyas are absolute slurs for bamboo, but what was really confusing was both managed to evolve the same false thumb, a pseudo thumb whose purpose is to help them grip bamboo. Reminder, they're not related, but with the same thumb emerging, same tests, same answers means evolution's converging. But there is one thing they don't have in common. Why are red pandas red while the bigger mammals monochrome? Well, with the giant variety, the pandas are actually the color of compromise. It's believed they have white fur to blend into the snowy climate, black limbs to match the shade, black ears to intimidate predators and look like a threat, but black eye spots to help individuals recognize each other. That's literal face ID. And science says having an awful diet is why. Because bamboo gives them so little, they'll never be able to store enough fat to hibernate. And with them being constantly on the move to look for food, they can't molt their fur fast enough to match their environment. That's why I said compromise. It's the best nature could do. Red pandas are like the pretty privileged sloths of Asia because they spend 90% of their lives in the trees and they spend most of that sleeping. Go see one in a zoo and you'll see what I mean.
Yeah, this was worth the car ride, the train ride, the path train ride, and the price of admission.
It is. It so is. No, it's so worth
Oh,
it.
never mind.
Look!
Red white fur.
Okay, I will say, one, I'm pretty certain that pandas only eat bamboo. I believe so. But anytime that I go to a zoo and they have like red pandas, I one have seen them where they're sleeping and it's worth it anytime. I will say I'm very biased because I absolutely love red pandas no matter what they're doing. I'm like, yes, you do you. You're so cute and adorable. But I love seeing them like play and run around. Like when they are not sleeping, they're so active. They're so active. They're running around. They're zooming. Like, ooh, I don't know. I love this animal. It's one of those animals that if I could ethically have one and like morally like where it is okay and would not mess them up to be domesticated, I would love to have one as a pet. Same for like bears, but I know that like that's not good for like it's generally not good for animals to be domesticated, and like that's a huge reason of like pigeons have like a problem right now because they're pretty reliant on humans. Like we domesticated them for messages and then kind of abandoned them. I think raccoons are getting there, but I might have like a perspective on that is a little weird because I grew up in an area that people would bring in raccoons and like dress them up in little outfits, and I was like, I don't think they're cute, but I'm like, I don't think you should be doing that. I would love to have a red panda as a pet if it was legal and ethical. You would need a lot of space and a lot of things to make sure that they actually have a good quality of life. That's what it is. I would love to have one. They're so freaking cute.
Means the wah disappears in fir trees covered by reddish moss and white lichen. But of course, the most famous thing these two have in common is their choice of diet. They fully committed to lives as bamboo sinks, so much that the giant bonya actually lost her ability to taste meat. You might catch a bear trying a dead wildebeest or murking a peacock, but virtually all their protein comes from bamboo. It's even been found that giant pandas have a sweet tooth, with them preferring natural sugars over water. Red pandas move to a similar beat of being mostly for bamboo. They'll also mix it up with fruits, nuts, blossoms, the occasional egg, birds, mice. I told you. But red pandas also have a sweet tooth, and it's believed they're the only non-primate mammal able to taste artificial sweeteners, with the was showing a preference for fake sugar like sucralose and aspartame, which makes the sugar fox the only mammal without thumbs that can appreciate NutraSweet and Splenda. The last thing they have in common might not seem that special, but it is to me. Red pandas being pregnant for an average of 130 days might not seem like a lot until you realize cats their size carry kittens for just over 60. And it's because,
so
like giant pandas, red pandas experience delayed implantation, which basically means they can procrastinate pregnancy by having the fertilized embryo just float around before implanting. It means red pandas can put pregnancy on pause and wait till the best possible condition to have kids. Sometimes it takes 90 days, sometimes over 5 months. Both pandas can do this, but to be fair, so can a lot of mammals, like over 100. Red pandas have anywhere from 1 to 4 cubs, each the size of a stick of butter, and each managing to be cuter than the original. They shadow Mama Bonya for about a year, learning everything about how to panda. But by far, the absolute cutest thing about them is that at about 6 weeks, the ginger cubs reach what has scientifically been referred to as the crackhead phase. Many animals use play to sharpen the skills they'll need later in life.
It's so bad.
Pandas will play with and pounce on anything, often their parents, in a period that has been called the popcorn phase. It's so sweet, I think I have diabetes. I don't care what y'all think or what it costs. I'll tank any consequences to have this in my house. Is what I would say if I didn't know the truth. Red pandas
I don't know. I keep saying this, but I love red pandas. I love how active they are and how rambunctious and cute. Like I don't know, whenever they're moving and out and about, it's so fun to watch. They're like anytime that I go to a zoo that has them, they're ones that I sit and watch, that I actually like sit and actually take time and like beeline to be like, we are seeing red pandas. We are seeing them. Like, we are not leaving until I see a red panda. So
are not what you think they are. If not friend, why friend shaped? How about I show you what adopting
they can be friends
will do to your life? Because you'd end up hating both.
They
The
can
day
be a
you brought
menace
one
and
home,
friends.
you'd notice a major difference between a fire cat and an actual cat. As much as cats would hate to admit it, cats are social animals and actually appreciate affection. Red pandas are solitary and only really tolerate their own kind when they're making or raising babies. And as zookeepers will tell you, unless you're carrying food, a living plush toy will barely acknowledge you, in fact probably avoid you. The sick joke is, the animal that's friend-shaped is not friendly at all. And they also really hate being picked up. That's basically a threat. And while the red panda's first response to being threatened is adorable, their second choice is a lot less cute. The same semi-retractable claws for gripping trees would deliver one hell of an attitude adjustment the first time you try to play them for a pet. And the same jaws for crushing bamboo would easily make your hand see-through. Your house is their prison and solitary confinement is their mission, and they'll maul the goodwill out of you. And as is the case with a lot of wild animals, human-raised red pandas are way more aggressive and trigger-happy with their temper. Also, their diet would bankrupt you, but it's the consequences of what they eat that would really be a problem. The red panda's poor diet means they can't digest most of it, so not only do they have to eat gluttonous amounts, what that means is red pandas can poop out their own body weight in waste in a week and can drop bamboo-laden bowel bombs up to 40 times a day. Now add that they constantly scent mark with urine and your house would smell like a dog park in August. Almost forgot, red pandas sleep up to 17 hours a day, but are crepuscular, so the only times the panda would panda is when you're either getting ready to or trying to sleep. So you'd be dead broke, sleep deprived up to your collar and caca, and probably missing several fingers and possibly an eye.
That would be okay.
Not to mention, the rogue
That'd be okay.
from cold and high altitude would lose its mind in your house, and their susceptibility to disease is something you'd never emotionally or financially recover from. But it probably wouldn't even get that far, because the other thing about bringing red pandas into your house, they will find a way out.
They will.
That's a promise.
They're so
are
smart.
Definitely the animal that stresses out enclosure engineers the most, but a red-faced ringtail is a close second. The rabbit hole of red pandas breaking out is hilariously extensive, and also why you could not keep these bastards in Planet Zoo. I challenge you to Google.
I will say, again, how I said earlier, I would love to have one as a pet, but it would need to be like ethical, and with how they are, it would not. Like, it would be ages and ages and ages before, and even then, you generally don't want to domesticate animals, but I would give up like anything. Give up anything. Take my money, take my sleep. Like, that little furball deserves so much and more. Like, look, they're so cute. But like they said, they take a lot of work. Even just being in like zoos and making sure that their environments and exhibits are like up to par and like good for them, let alone putting them in a house. And they're incredibly smart. They're little Houdinis.
Red panda escapes, click news, and marvel at how many times a literal Harry Houdini has humbled humanity. I'm gonna go through some of my favorites. The first documented red panda escape was in 1978 in the Rotterdam Zoo, aka Die Gaarde Blijdorp in Netherlands, and it created a phenomenon known as the red panda effect. Because even though the red panda was found just tragically not alive, the zoo still received hundreds of calls and sightings claiming to have seen it, even a year after he had died. The red panda effect is now synonymous with a psychological phenomenon where people tend to see exactly what they're looking for, even when it's not really there, and even provoke commentary on how the brain tends to fill in gaps in perception and can even alter that perception. Either that or Big Panda gaslit the hell out of the Dutch. In 2007, Yin the red panda made people wait 2 hours on the day of her debut before showing herself, and after taking a brief look around, said nah and immediately escaped. Keepers responded by adding electrical wiring around her enclosure, and that same month, she bypassed that wiring by using overhanging tree branches and got out again. But she never actually left the zoo. She climbed 30 feet up a tree and made the zoo director climb after her to get her. 10 years later, Sunny the red panda escaped, except this time, she fully left the zoo premises and was never seen again, which is crazy because no one clocked a red panda in Virginia, yet somehow after a bloodhound search, bamboo traps, drones, and a several-year manhunt, Sunny's still a ghost, and the reason why? Well, the prevailing theory is that she got fed up with the constant amorous advances from a male named Thomas, and eventually Andy deframed herself from him. It wouldn't be the last time, because in 2023 in Poland, Hamzu the red panda broke out and would scale the highest tree he could find to get away from his overly going mate Maja. In December 2015, in the Hangzhou Zoo, a branch broke in the panda cage under the weight of snow, and the 3 reds inside climbed it and escaped. 2 were immediately caught and returned, but the 3rd remained a fugitive for 242 days. And after 8 months of wondering where he was or if he was even still alive, he was eventually discovered in August of the next year, chilling in a tree not far from the zoo, and that's when his life on the lam came to an end. But the most famous red panda runaway
he just wanted to be
was
on his
probably
own.
Rusty. Rusty the red panda was living in the Smithsonian Zoo, and one morning in June 2013, staff returned to the enclosure to find it short exactly 1 Rusty. This led to a full-on manhunt, as keepers feared that an animal that cute unsupervised in Washington, D.C. was surely kidnapped. They took it to Twitter, and Rusty broke the internet in a way you just had to be there for. It was an entire day where the world was on Panda Watch. Eventually, the internet did what it does, with even politicians on opposite sides getting involved, and Rusty's day off ended when he was found in the Adams Morgan neighborhood and brought back to the zoo. And while the best guess is branches weighed down by rain is how he escaped, zoo officials still aren't 100% sure how Rusty did it, and even brought in a team of zoo experts, basically the Avengers of animal handlers, to investigate, because he wasn't going to tell them, and neither was his roommate Shama, who he was brought in to mate with and hopefully have kids with. Oh, this guy. If you wanted an update, Rusty continued living in DC, and in 2014 was transferred to the Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute with Shama, who he apparently warmed up to and had cubs with, until he was transferred to the Pueblo Zoo in Colorado in
Triplets!
2019, where he tragically and unexpectedly passed away in 2021.
Why would you say that?
To his legacy by having twins with another panda.
Why would you say that?
He got around in every possible way. The irony of red pandas constantly breaking.
Is it bad that I feel bad that they get caught? Where I'm like, they just wanna run around and have their own little adventures, and I'm like, no, they got caught. No. But at the same time, like, it's not probably safe for them to be out, especially where there's like cars and people and like other animals. And it is much safer for them to be in an environment like designed for them and to like keep them safe. But it's also like, no, you got them.
Out of zoos is we might not be far from a reality where zoos are the only place we can see them. The reason I made a big deal about the panda thing in the beginning isn't because I have beef with a bamboo bear. I've actually defended them on this channel. But while giant pandas have become the nepo babies of conservation and the face of endangered species, the giant panda has actually been off the endangered species list for about a decade. Meanwhile, the population of red pandas is estimated to be less than 10,000, and the word estimate's doing some heavy lifting. Some experts fear the real number's closer to less than a quarter of that. Red pandas still have a lot of things threatening their existence, like cheese. The mass production of local cheese popular with tourists and the ever-growing herds of livestock needed to fuel it has been a disaster for many of the red pandas living in Nepal, as a switch from forest to grasslands for grazing is like the worst form of gentrification. Pandas getting outcompeted by chori isn't the only problem. The same dogs used for herding can also end up mauling the endangered ponya. And that's on top of spreading diseases that can pack up the entire red panda population, with canine distemper being one of the worst. And like I said, you can't get away with being that cute without humanity trying to traffic you. There's other threats too, but deforestation, dogs, and degeneracy from humans are the main things pushing the red panda to past tense. So now that I've surely ruined the vibe and possibly your day, what can you do? One way is, if you're going to be a tourist in Nepal, do it in a way that's sustainable and using an organization like Red Panda Network to help book eco-friendly panda-approved trips. Another way is by talking about it. The power of Yap is boundless. Spread the Red Panda propaganda. And I'm not saying they have to, but if we could get the WWF to change their logo, that'd be dope. But speaking of RPN, the easiest way would be by supporting Red Panda Network, either by donating, which I'll be doing, and if you'd like to as well, I'll leave the link in the description, or even adopting a panda, the unproblematic way. Or you could volunteer, which now there's an idea for a video, but that's gonna do it for this video. Drink water, hug your mother, touch grass, hug your father. Never stop talking about the original panda. You have my permission to be annoying about it. And I'ma see y'all.
Good. I'm already annoying about it. They're so cute. But no, I am already so annoying about red pandas. They're so cute. They're adorable. They don't really have like a ton of environments that they live in, which is another reason why they're endangered and having like issues. The amount of people that I speak to that either don't know what a red panda is or just are kind of like, whatever. I'm like, how can you be like that? What do you mean? Like, they're so cute. And I will say, sure, it's propaganda that they're too cute and don't have any problems and they're not menace to societies at time. They are amazing and adorable and they deserve anything and everything. If they came up and asked me for my wallet, I would give them my wallet and more. It's so sad sometimes, like, getting into like some of the more animal information and seeing like how much humans are affecting environments, especially with production, with deforestation was one, and now with the rise of AI and the amount of like data centers popping up, how much that's affecting environments as well. Outside of people trying to domesticate animals, I I really hope it doesn't happen to red pandas or raccoons for that matter, but I do think that the raccoons are kind of already on that path, which is unfortunate. But I really hope that we can get the red pandas off the extinction list, going extinct list, and in the like positive way, in the positive way of no longer go extinct, and not like they got off the list because they are extinct. I love them so much, and I will talk about them any chance that I get. Same with bears. I love bears so much. Except for like polar bears. I don't know what it is about polar bears. I don't know. Otherwise, yeah, look into the causes to support red pandas, to support ethical zoos that actually care and take care of their animals and want to make sure that they have a healthy life. Again, this was from Casual Geographic. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Bye bye.